Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Hopefully, all of you are healthy and happy. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Hermanto. I'm major in computer engineering, Medan State Polytechnic student. This morning, I will discuss about research on cooperative to Zoom and Microsoft Teams application. Okay, here I'm using the qualitative descriptive method for my research with data collection using questionnaire on Google Form. From the result of research questionnaire, some students answer my question as follows. Number 1. Where do you think the application duration of the meeting is not limited? From this result, 46% choose Zoom and 53% choose Microsoft Teams. Number 2. In your opinion, which application is widely used by people? Here the participant answer Zoom of 84% and Microsoft Teams only 15%. Number 3. In your opinion, which application error often occurs? Here are participant answer. For Zoom application only 67% and Microsoft Teams 32%. Number 4. In your opinion, which application has clear video quality? Her participant are answer. For Zoom application only 52% and Microsoft Teams 47%. Number 5. In your opinion, which application has an attractive design? Here participant answer. For Zoom application only 46% and Microsoft Teams 53%. From the result of the questionnaire, I read there were 73 participants who filled out the questionnaire from various universities in Indonesia, which choose applications that are more used by students as online learning is application Zoom from 10 survey that we made. Then our discussion about the comparison of the Zoom application and the Microsoft Teams application that is more popular is Zoom application. My video presentation, my research are comparative to the Zoom and Microsoft Teams application. Thank you for watching my video. Hopeful is useful. See you in the next class. Bye.